Hi everyone, it's 12 o'clock. We are going to talk about some amazing thing today. Now, this amazing thing is something related to nuclear reactor. Now, we'll search here nuclear reactor. Now, nuclear reactor is an amazing thing. We'll talk about this. Now, look at it. Look at the design of the nuclear reactor. Many of you must not even know about nuclear reactor, so it's important to show a clear image so that you can imagine what I'm going to say about. So we are going to talk about the China syndrome. Now you must understand the China syndrome, the nuclear nightmare, you must say. Now, what is China syndrome? So we'll talk about it later. First, imagine a nuclear meltdown so extreme that the reactor core melts through the earth itself, releasing deadly radiation and contaminating everything in its path. This is the terrifying concept of the China syndrome. But is it real? Could it actually happen? Or is it just a Hollywood myth? So first we'll talk about what is China syndrome. The term China syndrome doesn't actually mean a reactor could melt all the way to the China. It's an exaggerated idea, but the truth behind it is no less terrifying. Nuclear reactors use fission reactions to generate heat. So what we are going to know is that how it works actually. So nuclear reactor use fission reactions to generate heat. A cooling system keeps the reactor from overheating. What happens in meltdown if cooling fails? The nuclear fuel overheats. Reaching thousands of degrees, the fuel melts into a molten mass called corium. I will search here about corium. What is corium? So the fuel melts down into a molten mass called corium, one of the most dangerous substances on the earth. So you can see here is this I don't know whether it is talking about chromium. Corium, this is a mineral information data. So in theory, corium could burn through containment. I mean, you can understand containment as the base of the nuclear reactor. So it can also, the molten is so heated that it can also burn the containment and it can go through the earth. So in theory, corium could burn through the containment, sinking into the ground and contaminating water, air and soil. Now next we will know about the real life nuclear disasters. The most famous nuclear disasters ever happened were the Chernobyl nuclear disaster in 1986 in Ukraine. Now Ukraine, but that time it was USSR. So the world has already seen terrifying nuclear meltdowns. Some of them came dangerously close to the China syndrome scenario. So first we'll talk about the Chernobyl. So where is Chernobyl? Here it is, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Let's open the Wikipedia page, what it has more for us to do. So yeah, like it's a black and white image, but still looks so horrifying. It has become a huge black spot here, a black hole, we must say. So this was the scale of disaster. but it was God's grace that the nuclear contamination didn't reach water and air, or it would have been out of control for the people living in around there in the locality of Chernobyl. So this was like really very terrifying. Now there's also one great, not great, of course, uh, very popular nuclear disaster, which was the Fukushima plant. It was also amazing. It was a modern catastrophe. So, in what happened actually in Fukushima nuclear accident, a 9.0 earthquake and tsunami knocked out the cooling system. So a nuclear reactor has a cooling system inside it so that the temperature doesn't rise too much. 3 reactors suffered core meltdowns. 3 reactors, can you imagine, guys? 3 reactors suffered the core meltdown, and corium breached containment. Radiation leaked into the ocean, raising fears of long-term contamination. So what what was the objective of me telling you all this thing? So we'll move to our next question, which is about, could the China syndrome happen today? Because the history shows us that nuclear contamination can occur, not at that level the China syndrome talks about. It's an exaggerated statement, of course. So let's know whether it could actually happen today. So modern reactors are safer, but are they foolproof? Let's break down it. Let's see the one picture of modern reactors. Modern reactor versus old reactors. The images. What was the difference? I was telling about differences only. So modern nuclear reactors are generally smaller, more efficient, have enhanced safety features, utilize advanced fuel design, can potentially produce less waste. All these things are given by Gemini. Let's see this. Yeah, here it is explaining something about small. See, you can clearly see the small modular reactor versus the micro reactor. Okay, so we got the distinction. So why it's less likely today? Now, when we could compare to the 1986 Chernobyl reactor, so very recent cases has not been observed about nuclear contamination. So what can be the reason? So first is a better cooling system and emergency shutdown protocols. The protocols are tough and it is taken more care because we learn from experience. It is a special ability of Homo sapiens that we learn from our previous mistakes. So reinforce contaminant structures. prevent corium from escaping. So you can understand the containment structure is created more strong so that the contamination cannot pass through it. Even if the rods get molten at very high degree temperatures. But what I see is still risk exists, and some of the factors that the risk still exist are: first is aging nuclear plants. So let's see one aging nuclear plant. Aging nuclear plant. So you can see there is some statistics about it. The US nuclear reactors among the oldest in the world. Now again, see, US is spreading so much contamination in this world, and they talk about like something. Like look at China and India, the contamination base of India and China. Still, like mean age of nuclear reactor fleets in the selected countries in 2022. So, Switzerland. So oldest reactor, of course, United States, because United States are the most number of nuclear reactors. That's 92. Should like look at these small countries like France, Germany, Belgium. Why do they need nuclear reactor? I don't understand this. Why they are like risking the planet just because of their selfish needs? It's like, look at Japan. Do they even have this capacity to consume all that amount of energy coming out of those 10 nuclear power plants? Look at India. India is so much safer than them. India has just 19 nuclear reactors, although India has 140 crore of population of 140 crores, 1.4 billion. But still, India is controlling its nuclear contamination by keeping less nuclear reactors. And look at Ukraine. It has got 15 nuclear reactors. They don't even need such amount of energy. They can even burn coal and fulfill their needs. But look how irresponsible these countries are. Hey, India and China are doing much better than all these countries. Asia is going to rise, and we will kick the ass of Europeans and US. Now let's move forward. Like we got distracted from our objective. So the second threat is the cyber attacks or terrorism who disable safety systems. Like all these are computer systems, so they are hackable. Climate disasters, earthquake, flood, power failures could trigger another meltdown. Now we are going to talk about the future of nuclear power plant. Whether it is full of hope, or it is full of horror. So despite these dangers, nuclear energy is one of the most powerful clean energy source we have. The question is, should we keep using it? The case of nuclear energy, zero carbon emissions, helps fight climate change. Reliable and powerful, more efficient than fossil fuels. All these things are true things, but the risk does also come with it. Disasters have long-lasting effects. Chernobyl is still radioactive after 40 plus years. Nuclear waste storage is a major problem. So what all I am saying is that we can conclude today's discussion by saying that, are we safe? With a question, are we safe? You guys have to think about it. I'm giving you this task to sit free for some time and think about this issue about the China syndrome. Maybe an extreme scenario, but history has shown us that nuclear disasters are real. The question isn't whether they can happen, it's whether we are truly prepared for when they do. So what do you think? Should we continue relying on the nuclear power? Or is it a disaster waiting to happen? So let me know in the comments below. And like, share and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's biggest threats and hidden truths. So